Well, hello, everyone. We are coming on in just a second. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to another Saturday night talk. Giving you a little bit of something so that people can come in the room. Just wanted to say tonight, we would still like to talk about health and wellness, homelessness. We are still in a world of change and still grasping to resolve issues. Medical care, there's so much that we need to talk about. So we won't beat around the bush tonight. I'm going to bring Deb up and we're going to talk about these things. If you have something to talk about or if you are concerned, grab the link. We are on YouTube as well. And I'll also put it on in the comments section. But you can always grab the link on YouTube. Well, here we are once again, Deb. Another day we've never seen before. How are you this evening?
I'm doing awesome. How are you tonight?
Hanging in there. I do have some stressors like everyone else, but pressing forward, doing what needs to be done, and I'm okay with that. You can only do what you can do, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we were talking about the different stressors. Like I said, last weekend, homelessness, health and wellness. Um, any unresolved issues or new issues. I've got some stuff that I want to share tonight in our community. And, how can we create a smaller community per se, to get people motivated and they're already surviving, but what is it that we can do to help people realize this is real and this may be around for a while. We don't want to get used to it. We want solutions.
Absolutely. When you think about homelessness looks different, I'm sure, in everyone's community by numbers. Even in our community, I still run into people that say, we have homeless people that live here. And I kind of look at them like, absolutely. But they do try to blend in as much as possible. If you see someone walking down the street with a backpack on, if you see someone carrying a bedroll as part of their back, if you see someone walking down the street and their hygiene possibly may not be where you would think it was in a good place, it's very, very possible that they could be homeless. I actually have taken a couple people and we would just sit and watch people go down the main street here. And they never really, when you're driving, you just don't pay so much attention to people riding bicycles or walking with a backpack, or we've seen people pushing a grocery cart that had their personal belongings and things. We just are so busy driving that we're not paying any attention to those individuals. So I took them to a parking lot and we sat, and I was able to identify. They said, "You know this person?" And I would call them by name, and they would come to my car and they're like, "I would have never thought that person was homeless." Well, okay, but why? "Oh, if I had known they were homeless, I'd offer them a ride." Um, well, does that make a difference because they're homeless? You would offer them a ride? And I just think we just have to pay attention to our surroundings. I honestly think that sometimes we're just so busy getting from point A to point B, we don't pay attention to anything but the road, which is good. But even when we're sitting in parking lots, be it the hospital or be it the church or be it a grocery store, you are probably possibly seeing someone that could be homeless, and you just are not aware that that's a huge possibility. They're not always panhandling. They're not
Right.
always sitting at the grocery store asking for something. They're not always dumpster diving. There are a lot of stigmas and stereotypes out there that we hear about homeless people. They are, they have their own community. They have their own love for each other. Their trust with us is a little different because, they're afraid that we're going to turn them into the police. Um,
Uh,
it's just, it's a whole different culture, honestly, totally. But how we got to where we are was we started feeding them. Our blessing box has led us to a whole population of people we were not aware of. I mean, we knew some of them, but it opened up a whole different door for us as far as giving and serving. I mean, they were so thankful that someone cared enough to feed them. And then when we added giving free clothing, they really appreciate that, because some of them, because they're homeless, they can't apply for food stamps because they don't have an address. They can't get medical care because they don't have address and ID. And we
right.
don't think of this. We don't, there's a lot of barriers for them. They can't get, any type of assistance. If they wanted to get a job, it would be difficult because most of them do not have ID, they don't have their documentations, and they don't have the finances to do that. Many
Right.
of many of them don't even have a cell phone because they don't have the funds to purchase a phone or to keep a plan going. So, their whole lifestyle is different. However, I have learned that there are some people that um, use the term "we live off the grid," and they live
Hmm.
off the grid for different reasons. I mean, you know, um, here we're having a lot of communities that are trying to go solar, become energy conscious, water conscious, doing their own filtration things. Some of those individuals, because of that, they live in tiny homes or cabins that they have purchased, but they still don't have all of the luxury and amenities that we have in our homes. So, some of them actually, even though they're off the grid and they may have shelter and things, they have an outdoor shower, um, things of that nature. So it's a different culture. Some of them live in tents by the river, or they live in tents out in the woods, or they live in tarp under the woods. They can't even afford a tent, some of them. So it just depends on what your community resources and availability is, I think. But those are some things, a way to identify them a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. A good way to identify, but I'm like, okay, how many people are stuck under a rock? How many people, what are they going to do? Wait until something happens to them before they realize there's homelessness in their area because it's growing rapidly in areas that you would never see. All of a sudden, we are seeing. I haven't a let me see. I was going to see if I can pull up what's happening here in our community, which is really baffling to me. Um, we have people living under a bridge, and I'm saying people because how many bridges are in our area,
Mhm.
square footage wise, or radius, a 20-mile radius? How many bridges are there? And people are living under the bridge. What baffled me was the fact that the city or the state, why, see, it may not be pretty tonight because I'm going to ask some hard questions, and I hope it, if you're on, you can follow or share for those that are listening without uh, messing with the algorithms. Sometimes they're listening. But my thing is, how is it that you only check bridges every 2 years? How is it that they found a whole setup as if it was an apartment in underneath this bridge with clothing racks um, sectioned off as if it was an apartment, but yet nobody wants to take responsibility. And homelessness is growing more and more each day. People are being evicted. I did see where, uh, what state was that? Seattle, Washington. I believe it was Washington, where they're fighting uh, for lower rent. Here, they're fighting for lower rent. But at what point and where do we get to this point where a solution is right the next day? You know what I mean? Why is it that people are still fighting and fighting and fighting? Let me see if I can share um, this. There's so much to talk about: homelessness, uh, health and wellness. Uh, I think I saw on this one channel where Colin Kaepernick, uh, his adoptive parents perpetrated racism. So all this stuff deals with our health and wellness. So there's so much we can talk about. I'm not sure if anybody wants to come on and talk about it, but the homelessness camp had a kitchen, closet rods, all kinds of stuff. I found it on this website. I get these notifications sometimes, and I'm sick of notifications, but I thought I discontinued it and this popped up. So let me see
Mhm.
if I can share this with you. While I'm doing that, what other things can you talk to us about? Have you heard of anybody with uh, what am I trying to say? With homeless camps that's
Oh,
fully stocked.
oh, oh, yeah. We have homeless camps here. We had families staying under the bridge. We had communities where individuals, some of these individuals that are homeless, actually have vehicles. When we did our warming station, some of the individuals that came there were homeless, but they had vehicles and some of them were staying there. We have to realize that a lot of communities um, sometimes do not want to acknowledge homelessness for fear they feel it's going to affect their property tax. They think that the value of their homes are going to go down. Um, and that may or may not be the case. Um, you know, homelessness can be labor intense at times because they do have personal needs and that have been neglected sometimes for years. Um, Trying to get them connected into the right mental health facility to help address that. They have trust issues because they've been ignored for so many years and they feel like individuals do not care. They feel like, they don't want to come places and be around someone because they may be doing their laundry by hand and they may not, have the laundry detergent that we have. Their whole process is so much different. And I have grown to think, I think sometimes, Jewel, we take a lot in our life for granted. I
Yeah,
mean, we really take a lot of the comforts, to see people get excited about having a blanket and something to cover up with, and they're so appreciative. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
thank you is like the first thing out of their mouth with ease because people haven't done that for them in many cases sometimes. But I really wish community centers, um, even our churches, would maybe step up and try to do some outreach. Even if you did a soup kitchen a couple days a week. Um, when we started the Blessing Box, we did it initially a year ago. It was Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And through going to fill it and having them be there waiting for us to put food in it sometime or to restock it, that's how we built relationships. That's how we heard stories. That's how we learned what their needs were. That's how we built trust.
yes, yes, and that is true because I'm at the point where why are we coming on here every week trying to get people to speak up, trying to get people to support when you and I both know people in need, but where I know a lot of people know that you have been doing this for over 18 months. I have been working with people, the whole community, for well over pre COVID, looking for funds to help facilitate these people. Where are these people that have the funds but not doing anything? But yet we know people and we are only limited to so much. Even for me, I'm out here working as well, trying to maintain my livelihood, trying to get positions where I feel like they've bullied people into getting jobs, telling them they need to be vaccinated, yet there's so many people that um, are not. There's doctors and nurses that have fought against it and won the case, and
Mhm.
people still can't find jobs. We have all kinds of issues here. So let me see if I can pull this up. First off, Let me say that there is a disclaimer because I do not own the rights. I found it on a website, and I'm also going to put the link on YouTube so that if anybody wants to come on, they're welcome to do so. Grab the link, and that's what I'm trying to do real quick is to pin the link so that if anybody wants to come on, they're welcome to do so. And we can talk about it because I'd like to know where's the funding, who's in position, who carries all this weight, but yet nobody knows anything. Everybody's throwing the uh, passing the buck. Everybody's trying to act like they didn't know this exists. So let me see if I can share this page because I'm trying to figure out how come nobody knew about this, and they said that they do. Um, check every 2 years. Now, Deb, because I don't have my double screen up, see if you can see this.
Okay.
Because I don't have two monitors. And if you can read it, let me know. Um, because I'm just cracking up. I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm going to share it. What can you see? Do you see that?
No, it's loading now. Yeah. Let's see if I can.
Okay.
It's got a video.
Yeah. And what I did want to do was, yeah, see, I
Wow.
need to put the disclaimer up. I found this on Newsbreak. Let me see if I can put that up now. Stand by. I'm trying to do it, but I'm trying to do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? And
I
so
understand.
let me,
It's
yeah.
coming across.
So,
Hmm.
and let me see if I can start the video here.
Okay.
At Denver Mattress, we're all about that sleep life. And during the 4-day super sale, the more you buy, the more you save. Save $100 on every 1,000 you spend. Plus 4 years, no interest, no down payment, and shipping. Denver Mattress, the easiest way to get the right mattress.
Is it?
Take a look here. Brand new video into our newsroom. Condition at a bridge in Jefferson County. Police found squatters living inside this piles of trash. Ashley Michaels is live now near Colorado Highway 58, and I with all the details.
This is the bridge right behind us. It goes over I-70. Now, we're told the squatters were discovered living inside the bridge last month. Goes the entire length as far as you can see. They were just cleared out yesterday.
Police department, anybody in here?
It looks almost like a hoarder house with bins stacked up and piles of odds and ends. There are bicycles, electronics, and whatever that is.
I can't believe how much stuff is here. That's incredible.
But this isn't a house at all. It's a bridge that goes over I-70.
And underneath it is a tunnel system, and that's used essentially by CDOT. If they weigh that flyover, they can go underneath the bridge.
Wheat Ridge police say they don't patrol here.
It was sort of just dumb luck that we stumbled upon it.
Community officer just happened to
And intersection
is the entire width of the bridge.
We're about a quarter of the way there, guys.
In some chambers, trash is so thick, investigators were forced to walk right on top of it. But believe it or not, there is some method to the madness.
there was kind of like a makeshift kitchen. They had constructed shelving in a closet.
We got everything.
And we were worried it was kind of like a safe haven for stolen items. It turned out we didn't have any items that needed to be booked into evidence. Primarily what came out was just loads and loads of trash.
It took cleanup crews 4 days to clear it out and will likely take a lot longer to figure out who was here, why, and for how long.
No, that's dangerous for them. It's dangerous for the city. It's dangerous for drivers. We don't want you under a bridge. not like that.
We did ask CDOT, when is the last time this bridge got an inspection? They simply told us every bridge in Colorado does get an inspection on a scheduled basis. So we don't know the answer. What we do know is it's a federal mandate. Every bridge needs to be inspected at least every 2 years. Ashley Michaels, Fox 31.
Wow.
Well, so with that being said,
Wow.
what do you think about that? Because for me, that's a problem. And then to say they schedule it, who updates? That's my thing. For educational purposes, who update the way things are done in the city? Because rest assured, that's not the first and it won't be the last.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. I'm just still trying to wrap my head about, like, how did that get built so and no one even noticed it? That's a concern.
That's a
I will
huge
say
concern.
this, having started as a community-based organization and shifting to nonprofit in January, as we've discussed, Jewel, there are millions of dollars out there for programming. I would be ventured to say there's probably billions in certain areas, depending, and in communities. Some of these communities still have excess COVID money they probably have not even spent yet, to be perfectly honest.
Honey, yeah.
I mean, I'm just being honest, because a lot of states received a lot of COVID money. But if we don't know to speak up and who to ask, that's why it's important for our faces to show up at our city council meeting. And not just when there's a problem. We need to be consistent about coming. And if we can't, try to get a group, an organization, so that they know if you can't make everyone, there's someone else going to be there to represent that organization. Doesn't mean you have to, that you want something. The thing that you should want is the knowledge. You should want the information. We need to understand in these communities that our dollar matters, and we need to know how our money is being spent if we're paying taxes in that community. And we need to hold those officials that we're electing accountable. They work for the people. And I know a lot of times we feel like our voice doesn't matter, but make our voice matter in those communities. Add diversity to it on some of those committees. Have people run for some of those elected positions. Become educated and bring up, like we do tonight, bring up some tough topics. Homeless, just because someone's homeless doesn't mean you treat them like an animal. I mean, they still have feelings. Many people have transitioned to homeless because of COVID. And I don't think we realize the number of individuals that we have seen an increase. I know with us just doing the blessing box, we are feeding more people now and assisting than we were 11, 12 months ago. A big change. People lost jobs. If you're working at fast food and your child gets COVID or you get COVID, these places don't want you to be gone 2 and 3 weeks out of a year. They need you to be at your employer. And if you have children and, there are events or things that you want to attend, some employers have very strict employment policies. I know several people here that lost their job, not just because of the vaccination, because they have 3 or 4 children and everybody got COVID at a different time. And then some ended up with RSV, some ended up with the flu. People are not given enough sick time for that. So as a result, they lost their employment and some became homeless because of it. Because if they're not going to work and they're not being compensated for missing, how can they pay their bills?
I agree. I Yeah, and I'm noticing some other things as well. People being arrested and problems and issues. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who uh, is speaking on what's right and what's wrong with the gun laws and the armed forces, and
Mhm.
the fact that you're grouping everybody in the same basket, but yet we know that it's getting more dangerous out here. People that
Mhm.
have felonies that can't bear arms, but yet how do they protect themselves? We've got some serious issues here. And so I'm just trying to figure out, where are the people that are hiding behind these screens and not able to have some real adult conversations and be able to come up with solutions, because you just can't put everybody in the same basket.
Mhm.
We've got some issues that were created, no fault of our own.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but we're not. And then you mentioned going to all these, getting different leaders and doing different things. But as we know, it takes months and months to get people in position to do anything about this stuff. There's so much that's wrong. Um, what do you say about that? Because we're not really like, that's why people are trying to take matters into their own hands, because you can't get anything done in a civil time. So that's even a problem. What do you
Now-
say about that?
and I agree. Um, I think documentation is critical. We are going to have to become people of timelines. We're going to have to write it down, track it, screenshot it, record it, and expose it. That,
Hello.
I believe, the system is as good as we allow, as well as it will operate, as well as we push for the operation. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
And if we're not taking the step, we may cry wolf, but what are we crying wolf for? Do you have adequate data to substantiate what you're talking about?
Hmm.
Have you who have you communicated this with? Did they respond to you? Everybody has somebody they're accountable to. And I think that we're not pushing, expecting a response. I think sometimes we're just like, oh, well, you know, this is the way it's always been. That may have be, but it doesn't mean it has to be that way. And I just think, we are going to, if we really want to see some changes in our community and in our policy, we've got to become vocal in some of these communities. We've got to find out what the laws are for individuals that are homeless or individuals that have mental health. Each community and state has different legislation. We've got to pay attention to this because it doesn't take much for an individual to become homeless. I
That's
mean,
right.
a lot of times we used to say, oh, you need to have 6 months, in savings. Now, with food costs and all of the other stuff they wrote, 6 months is not enough savings to
No.
sustain anyone.
No, and who can save? Because there's always an issue. There's always something going on. Um, somebody is. Are you needing help? Who is this? Lou Lara. Are you a psychologist? You have a mental health tag. Well, Lou, Laurel, we both are in the community helping those who fail to thrive. At this point, even psychologists are falling short, overworked, going through it. But we do have the tools to help people get into a sweet space. If you need help, you can do that, okay? You can get in touch with us. So tonight I'm not going to answer a lot of that came from YouTube. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions. If you can see the description box, please read that and please answer. Or if you have a solution to what we're talking about, please do so. Um, like we said, I am looking for people who can help fund what we're doing because we want solutions. We don't want to just keep being on a platform, just chit chatting and not come up with a solution or have resources to help people who are in need. That's how I feel about it today. And as you and I, Deb, get used to one another, it's kind of bittersweet because we both are in separate parts of the world here, but yet our concerns are similar. Oh, did I lose you? She did tell me they were having problems in their area. So we'll keep talking about that until she comes back on. But yeah, we just want to bring awareness. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, she's back. I was just trying to give you a chance to come back in. Um,
Yeah, it's the storm. I apologize.
Yeah, which is fine. We totally understand that. And that's why I was saying I don't want to answer a lot of questions unless it has something to do with what's on our description, in our description for today. As far as I am concerned, you know, Deb had mentioned that there's a storm in her area, so she'll be coming in and out. We may cut it short just in case anybody is looking for us. You can just replay what we have on for today. Um, there's a structure that needs to be had, and that's something that I wanted to talk to Deb about. As far as the structure, Deb,
Uh-huh.
for our communities, um, we know that there's a structure that needs to be implemented. The fact that it takes so much time to get anything done, what do you say about um, structure and about resources and funding? I know you guys have your 501, but it just seems like things are moving slow on that in that area. What do you think
I,
about
if you want to do something, even though there's money out there, I have always told the coalition we need to be our own best steward. That means we need to be committed to our own sustainability. You know, we need to do fundraisers. We need to look at activities that will that cost us nothing. You know, we have Linktree like you do. We use social media is our voice. We put out there that, when we need clothing donations, sometimes people are finding out about us and we're not even asking for donations. They will donate. The same for food. I had someone come from a church today that said they just heard about us last week, wanting to make a donation their Sunday school class. People have to find the resources. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest, it is not easy.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, it's not. But you have to be committed. You can't be wavering. You have to know that this didn't get this way in a day or two, a week or two, a
Right.
month or two, or a year or two. And
Right.
you have to be willing to persevere. Sure, we have some good days, but yeah, we have some days that are not so good. Um, but we still have to be mindful of the situation and what our mission and our purpose is. What are we trying to accomplish in what we do? And I say that to anyone. When we started with 5 individuals. Some people think that it takes a tribe of people, and it doesn't. It was 5 individuals. We had a meeting. We said, what's our objective? What do we want to change or have a positive impact in our community? And we started working towards it. We're approaching our 2nd year in May. But do not think it's been a bed of roses, because it's a lot of work. And it's hard to find volunteers. Everybody wants to be paid. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody wants to be paid. And I understand that. But one of the things that, you know, our partners are the Tennessee National Guard Anti-Drug Task Force. And one of their officers said to me, Miss Shaw, if you make the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain, and it's like, don't focus on the money, focus on the work, and the money will come. And we have focused on the work, and now people are wanting to give to us and are asking how to make donations. How can we help you in what you're doing? So even though we're a nonprofit, we have people that are volunteering now to come and serve, that want to help fold clothes, that want to help bag food up.
Good.
It, just spread the word and the awareness. We do not have money to advertise on TV and radio and all of those things. The only platform we do advertisement is Facebook in our community.
Okay, that's good. And you also have the link tree of Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, that's good too. Well, see, here's the thing too. I think we mentioned this last week. I think, didn't we say something like there's a lot of people looking and lurking, but nobody wants to get involved. They're waiting for other people to do it. And see, that's like a whole community. That's a community within the community that a lot of people are looking and lurking but will not get involved. So let's talk about that for a minute. Have people been hurt so much that they don't want to get involved? I have found where people are like, they just want to mind their business. My thing is, are we going to add mental awareness to that, or is it that people really just want to see what others are going to do? But I feel like we're in a position where you can't do that. It's like our duty to get involved right now. That's how I feel. But
I
what do
feel
I
that
know?
as well. I think we have a generation out there that has never been taught or seen examples of volunteering. When the individuals, when we started, I was the senior part of the group. All of those young ladies, they were all female, were younger than me. And they had a dream and a hope, and they didn't know how to formulate it. So I think we have a generation out there that sometimes has ideas, but they're afraid they're not going to be listened to. They're afraid it's going to be shot down, and they don't know how to get it started. So fear plagues them and keeps them in stagnation, that they just don't do anything.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I'm so sorry for that because the spirit of fear,
Yes.
it keeps, oh my goodness, it keeps people down, and I'm like, at what point do we and how can we help? I mean, we know how to help people to get through it, but it's more so now than ever.
Well, and I agree. When you've been shot down, sometimes people have had a lot of negative talk towards them. You've never done anything. You'll never have anything. You'll never be able to do. And when you've heard that for the majority of your life, you start believing it and you won't even attempt to do anything. And I think it's just going to take people to speak up and say, hey, like I told these young ladies, that's a great idea. And because I have volunteered in other organizations in my lifetime, it was easy for me to be strategic and delegate and give people tasks and say, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this, and we're going to meet in 2 weeks at this time and bring us back a report. And that's literally how we got started. But
Well, that's good.
that sometimes someone has to be Jewel assertive. Maybe that's it. And get the ball rolling. And once they did, because they were from this community, and some of them came from a substance misuse background, had some legal things, they felt they were not going to be received or deemed credible. And I said, because of the stigma that comes
Yeah.
along with that. And I said, look, everybody has a past. I don't care where you've come from. Everybody has a past. We got to get past the past and look at the brighter days ahead in your present and in your right now and future. So we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to focus on about that right now. If we do the work and we're consistent about it, that will bring the change. And
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking small town. When you're in a city, things have changed so much. I personally
absolutely.
don't think that they were ready for this big city life. Uh, I feel like they didn't have the manpower. There's so much that has transpired, and here we are with many issues, but
Mhm.
there's only so many people that played that game. And I just feel like they didn't have enough game players. It's made a big difference here, and I'm not seeing the participation of other people like I used to see. And I think that's a little bit discouraging because now you're out paving the pavement, looking for people who want to make a difference. And listen, it's almost like a needle in a haystack.
Literally, it is. It is. When you think of large agencies like Salvation Army and United Way, and we have seen those organizations transform over our lifetime, over the past 50 years. We've seen mission statements evolve and change. And
Yeah.
I really feel, Jewel, community centers and churches are a great way to get some of this started in any community.
But you know, we keep saying churches, and they still sit in the cut in the back. Some are doing something the best they can, I guess, and some aren't doing anything. And then there's some that only think that they can only give food and clothing. There's so much that needs to be done. I'm just wondering, with all of the talent in these churches and all of the positions people have in these churches, why aren't they doing critical thinking? That, in my mind, that's what I feel like. It
Well,
just seems like so much can be done.
I totally agree with you. Start with a lunch and learn. I mean, find some resources in your community, even if it's your health department, and bring in a speaker on, we've been talking about wellness. You can bring in a speaker to talk about high blood pressure and offer uh, different types of nutrition or diet information. You can bring in someone about from the health department to maybe talk about mental health, the warning signs of mental health. We've given you some on this platform, but do it as a lunch and learn, something small, open it up to your community, and have everybody bring their own lunch and have a speaker. That's not going to take you any money. Use your advertising from your radio stations. A lot of them have community service that can get it out. Send out announcements. Maybe your schools will allow you to flyer the classrooms, to send something home, and try that approach. It's more than, the food and clothing. We've got to work and get
Yeah.
other critical information out there.
Well, I agree with you. Now, another thing is, from the community that I service, um, can I tell you, I have heard people come back and say, and I too, because I've called several churches, and they're not calling back. That's discouraging, you know. So people are out here planting seeds, but the people that have the power are not calling back. I don't have an answer for them.
Well, I'll tell you, um, the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pastors can only do so much. And if we look at it from the biblical standpoint, they're to be students in studying the word. They
Yeah.
need willing workers, servants in their congregation to initiate certain programs. And sometimes it's it's what we're doing on this platform. It's awareness. Some people just are busy. They're not aware of the community because it may not be coming through its door. They haven't been faced with this yet.
Well, that is part of that could be a problem. Uh, but I tell you one thing, people are getting frustrated on top of issues. That is not okay.
No,
Do you have an echo, or do I?
I don't have anything on, so it must be you.
Wonder how that happened. Well, I don't know, but at any rate, we are at the end of our hour. No visitors except for one. And I don't know if they need any help. So if they go back and watch this, you can get in touch with me. Um, You can also get in touch. Let's just go ahead and put up for those. That was another thing, Deb. We didn't even touch on health and wellness enough tonight, uh, because what I was going to say was, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health, is a good resource. And then for those that need to contact if they are suicidal, but what we did not tap on is, although they have these resources, we have to be mindful as well to understand we can't just send people, well, to these places without helping them. I think people are afraid and they won't go to these places because they don't have any support in their community. Well, I won't say community, but in their circle. And
Yeah,
so, for anybody that needs support and help, now that we do things virtually, if they need my help or they need to understand the terminology, even, um, feel free to get in touch with me as well, because I'm noticing that people want to go, but they're afraid.
absolutely. I think I shared with you last week that I'm actually doing in a NAMI course right now. It's family to family. And NAMI has in various communities peer support groups where people can go. But again, it has to do with trust. We want to see people that look like us, that understand our culture. And I think that's very important. Sometimes we want to go so that no one knows our story. Um, they're very, very good. One thing I can say that I didn't know, um, from taking NAMI courses, they send you a binder of all the handouts and the information that it's not like a lecture. It's almost like you're in college again. Um, Class material that we're discussing, and even though it's virtual on Zoom, we're asked some really tough questions that
Mhm.
sometimes can lead to emotion. Today was a very emotional day when, individuals are talking about their loved ones and where they are in their mental health and how that is impacting parents. So we have to be mindful and remain sensitive. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
We have to, I say this all the time, we have to meet people where they are.
Well,
Some,
when you say that, see, people hear that terminology a lot, but they really don't know what it means. When you say meet people where they are, that's where the disconnect comes, because they can't if they've never experienced it.
well, okay, fortunately, I've never been homeless. I've never had to depend on others for clothing. I thank God for that. My parents provided for us, just like your parents provided for you. However, I've had to meet the individuals that I'm working with, Jewel, where they are. We may not have been there, but we do need to have compassion and empathy for that circumstance and listen to them. They tell me stories all the time, and I'm always asking, how can I help you? What can we do to make this situation better? I let them know that I appreciate what they're sharing because I know it's tough for them to talk.
Yeah.
They are not used to communicating to anyone because no one has ever asked them questions. They've just, you know, done whatever they needed to do to survive, so to speak. And so even though I haven't been there, I still feel like the love of Christ, we need to have some compassion and show some love in that process.
Yeah, that's what I say. But some people are so angry that they, it's the weirdest thing. They're so angry that they can't even open up. But as we continue to go, we'll try to, what can I say? We'll try to expand on that a little bit more and get people to uh, open up a little bit more and just talk about it. There's some things they can talk about that you can talk about on live platforms, but to really go deeper, we can do that behind the scenes. But just to start talking it out with people that feel similar.
I
Can you
agree.
hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay, well, that concludes our evening. I'm going to, do you want to say goodnight and anything else you want to say before we end tonight's live?
Well, I want to say that Jewel and myself are always available to help you get something started in your communities. We will help locate resources to encourage you and try to mentor you the best that we can. I want to say I thank Jewel for her vision for this to want to share, and because some of the topics are tough, and to encourage communities all over to look and see what you can do to help someone else. So I appreciate the opportunity to get to share this space with you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it as well. And I'm just trying to figure out what we need to do to help people to open up. It's like they're so stiff, but let it be something else. You know, they are quick to respond, they're quick um, to voice their opinion. But here we are talking about things that's going to help us all eventually and come together eventually, and people get ghost. But I'm not worried about it. I know it's out in the wilderness already, it's out in the atmosphere, and that's all we can do is, like you said, awareness. So until next time, I bid you a good night and thanks for tuning in. So if you guys made it to the end of this live, um, what can we say? Let's put the speak symbol out there and see who comes to the end. Thanks a lot, Deb.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
All right. Good night.
Okay, good night. Good night, everybody. I want to remind you about Tuesday, we're going to go live uh, on Instagram. We're also live on Thursday nights. And please feel free to leave a comment, like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow me on Simply Jewel Cosmetics and Health Services on Facebook. And just want to say thank you for tuning in. And hopefully, you'll meet us back here next Saturday, same time, and have some questions. We're willing to talk to you. Take care now.